Hey everyone, Midits here. Very recently, I binge watched the entirety of Ben 10. From classic all the way to the reboot, I saw every single episode. And that made me wonder, where would I rank every series of Ben 10? And that's what we're going to do in this video. So let's head right into this in the number 5 spot, meaning that, in my opinion, this is the weakest Ben 10 show. And that honor goes to... What a shock. Last place is the Ben 10 reboot. Now, pretty much everybody has talked about how bad the reboot is, and yeah, it is not great. First, let's start off with Season 1. Season 1 is awful, and possibly the worst season of Ben 10, period. So get this right, Season 1 of the reboot is longer than the first 3 seasons of the classic series, yet nothing happens. This is due to the show having more of an episodic storyline, but the thing is, the classic series had that too, and yet it still managed to have more of a cohesive narrative. Another really big problem is the fact that the episodes got cut down to 11 minutes, so it means that you don't really have a lot of time to do anything of substance in the show. And yeah, it just feels like absolutely nothing happens in the first season. But I'm gonna say this, during the Season 1 finale, and after that, the show definitely steps up in quality. It actually kind of feels like they want to make a good show instead of just a product to sell more toys. And even though seasons 2 through 4, I'd actually say are fine, with season 4 having some especially pretty good episodes, I just feel like the Ben 10 reboot never comes to the same level as any of the prior Ben 10 shows. And that's why it's at the bottom of the list. And now let's head to the number 4 spot. Now in 4th place is Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. Now some of you might be a bit surprised by this, but I bet a lot of you are probably not that shocked, because Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, while still being really good, is nowadays considered by a lot of fans one of the weakest points in the original continuity. And that mainly stems from issues that started in the 3rd season of Alien Force. That being the fact that they pretty much made Ben revert back to a 10-year-old personality-wise, and that unfortunately still carries over into this show. Although one thing is that it's kind of inconsistent, because sometimes he's going to act mature and like an actual human being, and then the next episode, he's just running around like a stupid child. And you know, just the inconsistent character writing, it's not that great. Also, while the Agrigor arc was pretty cool, the Forever Knights arc was just kind of okay. And yeah, pretty much the problems which Season 3 of Alien Force had, unfortunately you can still feel pieces of it in here, and that's what causes it to have the number 4 spot. And now, let's go see spot number 3. Now this one's probably a real big surprise. In 3rd place is the Ben 10 Classic Series. Now this is when it definitely starts getting to really good. The Classic Series is awesome because obviously it's the first one, so this is their first try at doing the whole Ben 10 concept, and it's done insanely well. This series has an episodic format, but despite that, it still feels like there's things constantly happening, because throughout the majority of the show, there are storylines going on throughout it. So unlike, let's say, the reboot, there feels like there's actually stuff going on. Also, this is a thing that applies to the majority of Ben 10, not the reboot, but the action in this show is so good. Like, it's surprising that this stuff made it to children's television, because they have some pretty wild fight scenes in this show. And yeah, that's definitely one of the greatest parts about it. While I have been talking about how great the show is, I just feel like the next 2 shows are even better. So speaking of which, let's head to the number 2 spot. Now here in the number 2 spot is Omniverse. Now this show used to be very controversial due to all of the changes made from the Ultimate Alien Force era of Ben 10. But nowadays, this show is looked upon a lot more fondly, and it definitely deserves the title of the 2nd best Ben 10 series. Now, while I will say the first season isn't really that great, it's not bad, it's just like fine. Season 2 and onwards, the show really picks up. And eventually the show just gets to a point where The storyline is always interesting. And also, while a lot of people were upset by the design changes, they honestly do look really good and fit with, the tone of the show has now. Since the UAF era was more serious in tone, while here in Omniverse, it's more comedic. It does have its serious moments, but it is more comedy based. And I feel that the new art style just helps to represent that. And yeah, I definitely feel like Omniverse is worthy of the number 2 spot. But now, we're gonna head to the peak of Ben 10. And that's the number 1 spot, which is Ben 10 Alien Force. Now, let's get this right out of the way immediately. The 3rd season is garbage. It's awful. One of the worst seasons of Ben 10. And that's due to how drastically they changed his personality from the prior 2 seasons, like I mentioned before. But when you don't include season 3, this show is a masterpiece. Like, I honestly feel that seasons 1 and 2 make up for how bad season 3 is. First of all, the show has a full narrative which goes through the entire first 2 seasons, which is all about the hybrid invasion. And so it constantly feels like these episodes are building up to the finale, and that we aren't just going on some wacky wild adventures with Ben 10. This is something I haven't mentioned in the other ones, but the dynamic that Ben, Gwen, and Kevin have is great and easily the best one in the whole show. And it's so great seeing Ben more mature, because one issue with the classic series is that Ben will learn the same lesson about needing to be responsible over and over and over again. He will constantly learn it because he'll forget it by the time of the next episode. And it's so nice seeing Ben finally being mature. And that's why Alien Force is the best Ben 10 show. Well guys, that's going to be it for this ranking of the Ben 10 series, as well as this video. Now, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy this video, go check out some of my other content, and if you really enjoyed this video and want to see when some of my new videos come out, subscribe. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys whenever it's hero time.